Wow, good afternoon. How was lunch?
Good.
Good. I've been with you for about 5 months, and I'm very fortunate to work with such a great team of people, and I'm glad to be here with you today. It's an honor and a privilege for me today to introduce the founder and president of the Honor and Remember organization. Please join me in welcoming Mr. George Lutz.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Can you hear me okay? I'm not sure if I'm on the mic or not.
You are.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Sincerely an honor to be here, to be invited by Denise and Mike to share a little bit of a very meaningful and emotional story. And if I get a little bit emotional, please bear with me, because this is a story that I live. It's not something that I do. But before that, I have to do a couple of things. And one is that I grew up in the 50s. Really, I kind of did. And the 60s. And I will tell you that my dad only drank one kind of beer. And it was Miller. And every time I saw him with a can of beer, it would be a Miller High Life beer. Do you still have the High Life designation? And so growing up, the only beer I was ever accustomed to and was introduced to was Miller. So there's my beer story. I'm sure you all have one. I just like that. But I wanted to say one thing, and that is, everyone who's a veteran who served this country, I would like you to please stand up. If you served in the military in any capacity at all, would you please stand? And let's thank these men and women for serving this country. The reason that is so important to me is because on December 29th of 2005, I had 2 uniformed soldiers come to my door, and they delivered 5 very simple words. I regret to inform you. Because that day my son had been killed in Iraq by a sniper's bullet. And I will tell you that the moment that you receive news like that is the most devastating moment in your life, because you don't know what to do with it. It's not something you can prepare for. It's not something you think about. It's not something you can even imagine, and you don't want to imagine, but it happens. And when they delivered that news to me, I went into a state of shock. What do you do with that? How do you react? Yeah, there's stages of grief, but we're not supposed to bury our children. And I will tell you that I wasn't even sure that I wanted to live myself, because he was my oldest son. He was my best friend. And I would never see his face again. He would never walk through the door. I would never hear from him on the telephone. I would never get another email. The memories of my relationship with him came to an end at that very moment. What was I going to do with that? What could I do with that? Well, I did what any parent probably would do, and I hope that none of you have ever been in this situation. But I started to open drawers and closets, looking for anything that I could that would remind me of how he lived. I wanted anything to hold on to so that I could read a letter or find a picture or something that would let me have one more day of life with him. But you know, that's a finite universe, because you can only open so many drawers. And that comes to an end. And then you start looking outward. My son was married and he had 2 children. So he had a life of his own. He was 25 years old. He was in the United States Army. And I began to reach out to his friends, because I wanted to know, what stories did they have? What could they tell me about him that would give me one more moment that I didn't know about, that I could hold on to? But again, that came to an end, because there's only so many people he knew. No matter how friendly you are, there's only so many people you know, and only so many stories you can get. And so when that period of time ended, I thought to myself, Well, he was in the United States Army. He fought with men and women. He trained with them. He must have been surrounded by people who were doing their job while he was doing his. So I wanted to know about that. What did they know about him? What could they tell me about him? I wanted to know how he did his job. I wanted to know what he had for breakfast that morning. Anything that I could that would give me one more moment of remembering his life. And that came to an end. And these are very short periods of time. And I began to think, he died for his country. I don't know if any of you have heard this expression, but it goes like this. There are only two defining forces in the world willing to give their lives for you. Jesus Christ for your soul, and the American soldier for your freedom. And I wanted to know, how did America recognize and appreciate those that gave their lives? Because you know, men and women are still giving their lives almost every single day. And how do we know it? What do we do? What do we say? How do we recognize it? I began a search. Because you know, there's men and women in this room, in the mall that you go to, in the restaurants, driving up and down the street, that have the freedoms that we have in this country because of the men and women who are willing to sign their names to a blank check, up to and including their very own lives. And they're doing it so that we don't have to, so that our kids don't have to, but others are. So I was looking for that method that America uses to remember our fallen. And you know what I found? The typical things that I do and many of you do around the country. We have banners that say support our troops, don't we? We have bumper stickers, we have magnets, we have the yellow ribbons. We have so many ways of honoring those who are out there serving, or who have served, or have been wounded. Those people groups that we can see and touch and feel. But I kept looking for a way that America remembers those that gave their lives. Because that's an important group too. That's a really important group. And you don't realize it until you lost something. I was explaining to somebody the other night that there are thousands, many of you may not know that there's nearly 7,000 casualties just in Iraq and Afghanistan. These are war casualties, not to mention the PTSD-related incidents and all of the thousands of family members before that who have lost a loved one. Thousands of Americans are affected in this country because of loss. And so in my search, what I found was that there wasn't anything out there in America. There's nothing out there in America that specifically and individually recognizes the price of freedom. And you would say to me, well, we have Memorial Day, right? We remember on Memorial Day, that's the day we set aside. Let me give you a really short scenario. Let's say there's only 1,000 troops. We're a small country. There's only 1,000. Of course, you can multiply that by quite a few. But let's say there's only 1,000, and we send that 1,000 over, and we say to ourselves, we're going to support those men and women. We put up our banners, God bless our troops, and then we lose one. Put that one aside. That's a Memorial Day remembrance. And we keep on remembering them, 999. Well, let's say 999 of them don't come home. Back home, what we're doing is we're putting up our banners, which we should, and we're remembering the one. But the 999, we remember on Memorial Day, because that's the day, right? But when do we remember the one who died June 1st, after Memorial Day, or July 1st, or August 1st? We wait a full year to do something to honor their memory. But I will tell you that as a family of a fallen service member, Memorial Day is every day. There's not a day that goes by that a family doesn't remember the loss of their loved one. Not one day. There's not a holiday that goes by that these families don't remember that they don't have their loved one at their table. Never. For years. And I've now met families who have lost loved ones for generations. 40 years ago, Vietnam, Beirut, Korea. And I will tell you that they remember their loved one every single day. And so if Memorial Day is every day to those families, and the freedoms we enjoy as a nation, we enjoy every single day, don't we? I mean, the freedom to move about the country, to bear arms, the right to worship. So many rights that we have in this country. We have because of these men and women. Yet, in our minds, we set aside one day a year. And I'm going to tell you something shocking. 80% of Americans do not know why Memorial Day exists. 80% of this country does not know why we have Memorial Day. So if 80% of the country doesn't know why Memorial Day exists, then what do we do as a nation to remember our fallen? Nothing. Because only the 20% of us have any clue as to why we have that day. So if we do nothing throughout the year, and we do nothing on the day itself, then really we're missing something very important. We're missing an opportunity to say thank you for the very reason why we exist as a country. I began to attend the funerals of other families after my son died. And I, unfortunately, have been to way too many. And since then, I've also met many families who have lost loved ones. Hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of families who have lost loved ones. And the two things most important to them, the only two things that I hear over and over and over from them is, please don't let my loved one have died in vain. And please don't let them be forgotten. That's it. It's the only thing they can hope for. Because the one thing they would like to have back is just one more moment with a person that they lost. And that's not ever going to happen. So here we are as a nation. If you can imagine these thousands of families just walking around, and you don't know who they are, and if I hadn't said anything, you wouldn't know who I was. But if you can imagine these thousands of families walking around the United States, wishing that somebody would not forget, that somebody would have an understanding and appreciation of what that sacrifice meant and how to be thankful for it. That's an important concept. And I wish we had that clicker thing up here again, Denise, because I would ask the question, how many of you in this room think that it's important to be thankful for the freedoms that have been given to us by the men and women of our armed forces? If you want to, you can raise your hand. Right. It's kind of a no-brainer, isn't it? It really is. But the problem that I was seeing is that America didn't have a way to appreciate it. They didn't know what to do. Death is an uncomfortable thing. And I don't tell my story because I want you to feel sorry for me or for any of the families. Because those men and women did what they wanted to do because they loved it. They were servants. And they were selfless servants. And so that's not the idea. The idea is that we didn't have any way as a nation to be appreciative and to show appreciation and to understand what it meant that these families expected somebody to care. And I thought, how do you change that? What do you do in a nation to get everybody's attention? And not in a morbid kind of memorial kind of way, but in a celebratory way. Because these families want you to celebrate the fact that their loved one has given you the freedom that you enjoy. They want you to say thank you to them, not avoid the situation, not think it's a terrible thing to do. But America didn't have a way. And even if you listen through the holidays and you'll hear the newscasters come up with, even on Memorial Day you'll get this too, but you'll hear mostly, let's remember those families who don't have their loved ones here at the table. And you'll hear that during holidays. And there may be holiday messages from deployed service members saying, hey, Mom and Dad, or honey, I'll miss you and I'll be home. And you hear that kind of feel-good story all the time, and that's wonderful. But the missing piece of that, this is what I want you to hear, the missing piece of that is, and let us also remember those families who will never have their loved ones at the table again. Because that is their cry, that somebody not forget. And I thought, well, how do you get the attention? How do you get the attention of the entire United States? Because everybody listens to a different newscast, everybody listens to a different radio show, everybody reads a different newspaper if there are choices. And so I thought the best way to get somebody's attention is with a symbol. A symbol that can't be ignored. A symbol that when you see it only means one thing. A symbol that has specific meaning and important symbolism. I mean, after all, and this is a flag, the Honor and Remember flag. We have flags for everything in this country, don't we? If you think about it, we have our U.S. flag, 50 stars. It represents everything in this country. Who we are, our diversity, our unity, our freedom, our helpfulness as a nation, our accomplishments, our awards. We have the Olympics coming up. It represents everything. Yet below it, we have a flag for every state. We have a flag for every college. We have a flag for every branch of the service. Every veterans organization has a flag. We have a flag for the POW and MIAs that need to be remembered. We even have flags that tell you where to hit your golf ball, right? But what we've never had in this country is a symbol of appreciation that when you see it, when you display it, it says one thing: thank you. Thank you for the lives lost, and thank you for all of those families that are still with us, that grieve and cry out for that remembrance every single day. The Honor and Remember flag was unveiled publicly to be a national symbol of remembrance on Memorial Day of 2008, nearly 6 years ago. The symbolism, I'll explain to you once and you'll probably never forget it. The red field above, honor, it's American flag red. What better color to honor the blood sacrifice of our men and women throughout history? This is not a flag for the current generation. This is a flag for every generation of family that has ever sacrificed for this country. The white field, the purity of that sacrifice, because our men and women went over with a pure heart, saying to each of their family members and their friends, don't worry, we've got it covered. We'll be back. The blue star in the center goes back to World War I, when a solid blue star on a banner was hung on the windows and doors of family members who had someone out in the fight. When you saw that star as a neighbor or a friend, you knew that they had someone out there fighting for our country. It was to identify those families. We still use that term today, and you might hear them. They're called Blue Star families, Blue Star mothers. The gold star was overlaid, that blue star, again, dating back to World War I, when that loved one was not coming home. And I saw you have gold star appropriately in your banner earlier, and it dovetails into what we're talking about now. And I hope it's a reminder to you that gold star to us means that life lost. And sometimes you see on that banner 2 or 3 stars, the one with the blue stars on it, and one of them might be gold. And you'd know that family had 2 members in service, or 3, and one of them had been killed. The folded flag beneath those stars is a reminder of that folded flag that was draped over the casket, folded and handed to the families in memorial of their loved one. This country was built on one folded flag at a time. The flames above it, an eternal reminder that we will never forget. And the words below, we will always honor their sacrifice and remember them individually by name. And that is our goal as an organization, is to establish this as a national symbol, flying everywhere in this country, on homes, on businesses, on churches, and organizations, on government buildings. 17 states have already adopted this as their state symbol of remembrance. 17 states. We're working on Ohio. We have chapters all over the country that are honoring families individually in very specific ways. I don't have time really to talk in detail about that, and I don't want to take everybody's time. But there are many things that you can do as individuals. If you go to our website, Honor and Remember, you saw it on the flag, you see it up there, .org. Very simple to find, honorandremember.org. There's a petition online. You can sign that petition, and you can share it with others. You can fly the flag yourself. If you believe it's important, you have a flagpole, and you're associated with any organization or your church or any other body that has a flagpole or not, you can still display it. And there's other ways of showing it. Because you never know who is going to be in your midst, who drives by your house, who goes by your plant, your organization. You never know whether or not somebody has lost someone. And I don't usually do this, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I will ask this question. Is there anybody in this room who has lost a loved one related to military service, whether it was in the service during conflict or it was as a result of service through another means? Is there anybody in this room like that? Would you please stand? Thank you. Look around and identify these folks and ask them to tell their stories. Because you don't know. You don't know. And I'm going to close by asking 3 people to come up to the stage. Ferris Camarisi, Craig Agee, and Tammy Spence. The 3 of them would come up. Because of their work with the military and the veterans in your midst and in this MillerCoors community, I would like to make a presentation to them. Is everybody here? Oh, come on.
We should have got Tammy's camera. Where's her camera?
So on behalf of Honor and Remember and MillerCoors and your work here in the community, I would like to present the plant with its own Honor and Remember flag, which I understand is going to be flown here at the brewery. And to my knowledge, this will be the first brewery in America to put the flag up at their plant as a visual sign of appreciation to all those who have given everything for this country. And thank you. Kennedy. Come on.
Get a shot.
Zoom in on this. It's the first one.
These words from John F. Kennedy. A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but by the men it honors and the men it remembers. Thank you.
So just a couple of quick things. We learned about George and all the work that he's doing through Michael. So thank you to Michael for bringing this to our attention. We've made sure that we'll have a backup flag as well. So that's been taken care of. So once we fly this flag, it will always fly at the brewery. Maybe we could be the first of 8 at least breweries that do it as we try to push it. We selected Ferris, Craig, and Tammy to come up and accept the flag for us. I think all of us know that those 3 individuals give a lot of their time and energies for a variety of things in support of our veterans and doing as much as they possibly can to help us coordinate things and deliver as impactfully as we do. So we selected those 3 individuals for that reason. And Jeremy and I would like to take this.
Oh, this is probably another picture moment.
So we'd like to present George with a check for $1,000 for his organization from the Trenton Brewery and its employees. Thanks for coming. We actually also have with us a local representative, a local representative as well, so we'll be staying in touch to see what we do.